Hello, everyone, and welcome again to 2020, the talk show that puts the spotlight on you. I'm Rotarian Sandeep Ohri, and I thank you for joining me once again. This is the third in the series, and I am really overwhelmed with the response to the first two. Those videos have reached 9,000 views, and they are still increasing. The feedback is very encouraging. I really like it. Thank you for the feedback. Either way, let it please keep coming in, and that's what encourages me to keep doing this. But this program is not about me. Like I said, I've been blessed to meet in my life very, very wonderful people who've got some really fascinating stories to share. And I believe those stories can actually inspire, motivate, and even teach the rest of us a few things as to how to make our own lives better. Many of them go about their daily lives, nonchalantly, and we don't really know what they've been through. Some of their stories have probably never been shared on a public platform, and many of them are even appearing on screen for the first time. So I'd like you to give them those margins and be nice to them. Okay, I'm very excited to introduce our third guest, a daughter of a police officer, started off in a Kannada medium school near Mysore, finally completed her BSc in chemistry, botany, and zoology at the age of 18. Wanted to be a doctor, but her parents couldn't afford that. And she was married off immediately and moved from Bengaluru to Mumbai. It was Bangalore and Mumbai at that point in time. 2 children, and 16 years later, she decides to do her B.Ed, went on to do her double masters in sociology and education, and topped it up with a PhD. Well, in a way, she did fulfill her dream of becoming a doctor, though not the medical type. And after a brief stint in the corporate world, she is back to her true calling of educating children, is now the principal of a prestigious school in the northern suburbs of Mumbai. I'd like you all to please welcome Dr. Pramila Kudva. Hello, Dr. Kudva. Thank you for being on the show with us.
It was a generous introduction. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, I was not trying to flatter you, but so that's what it is. Okay. Before we start, let me ask you, how are you and your teachers coping with this entire online teaching scenario that's, suddenly been thrust upon all of us, the students, the teachers, and especially the parents?
We are coping.
Yeah, the question was how.
The best of our ability. Anyway, jokes apart.
Yeah.
It has been a lot of stress. Initially, when the lockdown was announced, we were not ready for it. So we started out with asynchronous teaching, which was easy for us to dole out. And we also looked at the fact that maybe there are not going to be enough devices at home for every child to use when the if we were to have a synchronous mode of teaching. So with that, we doled out asynchronous modules, which worked out fine. But then they wanted some interaction with the teachers, which was not going to happen with the asynchronous modules. So a lot of research had to go into which is the right kind of platform, which is the platform that we can use, how we can use it. So the teachers had to be trained in ensuring that they are able to deliver. So a lot of work went into it, and we are able to keep afloat.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think it's probably been as challenging for not just the teachers but also the students and even the parents. Probably who have a lot more time on their hands. To be more involved in the educational process.
Not just that.
Yeah.
What used to happen was earlier, the teachers used to do all the teaching, and the parents just had to probably get them to do the homework. Now the teachers are going to only teach them, and every aspect of ensuring that the child learns what is being taught has to be done by the parent.
Wow.
So it's not easy.
So how does that dynamic change? Do the teachers feel like like they're under a microscope?
Helicopter parents.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, they're hovering around all the time trying to find out.
Okay, I understand. Okay, coming back to you. Okay, let me go back to your early childhood. You mentioned to me while we were talking that one of the things that you did as a child was Indian classical singing. Okay, so could you please tell us more about it and why that?
As a child, I didn't do singing. I did classical dancing.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
It was
So,
when I grew up that I moved into the singing. So I
okay,
did.
so I was about to take back my question about getting you to sing, but now I think I'll let that stand. But no, I can understand with all the talking that you've been doing online. So I think that's we'll give that a go by. Okay,
Thank you
so
so much.
yeah, so tell me, teaching has always been your passion, and you started off your career in Mumbai. I understand as being a teacher. You also did a brief stint in the corporate world, and you worked for some very prominent companies. How did that whole gel, and how did you come about? And did you feel at any point like what am I doing in this corporate world? Did you feel like a misfit or something?
Um, when I first stepped out of my teaching, I moved into Z Interactive Learning Systems. And it was not really cut off from education per se. I was still involved with the web content making, and there was still a lot of connection with the academics. So I did miss school so much. But later on, when I moved into Bombay dyeing, it was fun. There was a lot of learning that happened. I grew as a psychosocial, a person who could give psychosocial input. But that was when the withdrawal started coming in, a withdrawal from wanting to be back in school. And I was missing my classroom. I was missing my teaching. I was missing the inputs that the children gave during the class. So I started looking out. I wanted to get out of there, get out of the corporate and come back to academics. And unfortunately or fortunately for me, the first school where I was working, that principal uh, passed away due to cancer. She was a classmate of mine also. And the management asked me to come back. And without thinking twice, I took a downward revision in salary and got back into academics, no regrets.
Yeah. So when you were in the corporate world, the things that drive people when they work in corporates is very different from the motivation and passion that drives people when you're teaching. How did you cope with all of that? Like I said, it must have been a big change for you, and of course, teaching was your passion, so you came back. But I would like to know a little bit more about how you perceived the difference, because since you're educated to have those kind of insights, so you could probably share those with us. What are the challenges that you faced?
I didn't really have too much of that to worry about because when I was working with my first job was still dealing with the academics. So they were all people who were from the teaching background. So we still had the same kind of thinking. So there was no problem. But when I moved to Bombay dyeing, that was also not so bad in the sense that we were a kind of a group that was created and they were looking into brand building, and we were the ones, a handful of people who were directly reporting to Neswadia. So it was a different kind of a setup. We didn't really feel that the so-called disconnect that you mentioned. It was nice, and we were one small cohesive group which worked together. And in between, for 30 days in a year, we were sent to Bangalore and we stayed in the Britannia guest house learning. At any point of the day, we were learning, and there was no fixed time. There was no time that says, okay, working hours are over. 12 in the night, we were still working. So I didn't feel the disconnect.
Yeah. Okay, since you've taught at different levels and you've taught in different institutions, also you've been involved in education with Z Interactive. So you did a lot of work on online education. Way back, maybe almost 20 years back, you were talking of online education at that point in time. The things that were there at that point in time and the things that are now there, the challenges that we now have. I mean, other than the technology aspect, what about the mindset aspect? Do you have some insights to share on that?
Mindsets, as in what exactly are you looking at?
In the sense that the approach for the audience, the customers for online education, The challenge is for companies to take it to them, because there are lots of companies now who are involved in some form or the other of online education. There are corporates that are involved. This lockdown has opened up, a world of opportunity for people to teach online and to learn online. At that point in time, what were the challenges that were there, and now what are there? So you've seen that whole shift happen, over 2 decades. So when you did that then, and you're doing this now, so what are the learnings from that we can find out?
And when we did that, then people were not ready at all. I remember I had to go to Bangalore to I don't remember all the details. I had to sell the idea that this is going to work. And the gentleman, the bureaucrat who was there, was not willing to accept that this is workable.
Uh-huh.
And we started off in English and finally ended up having a talk in Kannada.
Yeah.
And
So
at the end of it somewhere, no, the Kannada helped. The Kannada
yeah,
helped.
it was also probably strategic that they sent you to Bangalore. They sent you to Bangalore, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, the corporate mind works like that. So it's like, you know whom to send for what. So anyway, so that's good. So you're saying that they were, well ahead of their times, and
Yes.
in terms of acceptance, I think now probably there is a lot more acceptance. Probably not even much of a choice in terms of what we have to do.
Now, I have been given to understand that I believe in the past 4 months, what the technology would have improved in the next 5 years has happened in the past 4 months.
Oh yeah, sure. I tend to agree with you on that, because we've been forced into doing this, and everyone has been shaken out of their comfort zones. Individuals as well as companies. So everyone's done double time thinking of what they could have done and what the situation demands right now. So they've just gone ahead and done it. So yeah, so that's right. Okay, so while you're teaching and doing everything, and I must share this with the audience. Okay, Dr. Kudva is also an author of a book which she wrote, and it's got a very interesting name. I'm really enamored with that name. It's called From Chalk to Talk. Really awesome name. What made you come up with that name? I know it's very obvious now. In hindsight, everyone's smarter, but what made you come up with that name at that point in time?
Now, before I go to the name, I need to tell you why I wrote the book.
Oh, sure. Please go ahead.
Because people have been telling me to write a book for a long time now, but I could never muster up my motivation or the courage to write a book. So it so happened, a student of mine sent me a message which says, "Die empty." My first reaction was, good heavens, I know I'm old, I know I've got gray hair, but somebody doesn't need to tell me this. But then I started reading about it. No, it's got such a profound thought behind it, It has got so much of Indian philosophy ingrained into it, that when a person moves on, the person needs to pass on the knowledge to the others. The whole, Bhishma Pitamaha is lying down on the bed of arrows, and the Pandavas and the Kauravas go to him to learn from him on his deathbed. And the Brahmarshi, Ravana dies. Before he dies, Rama sends Lakshman to him to learn from him. So this is a part of our philosophy, and it kind of appealed to me, and I started writing it. Now the book, the title, we did a lot of Googling. We found out, wrote down a few names, and then a teacher of mine, she and I were talking, and in the process, the name From Chalk to Talk emerged. I don't know if Preetham is still here. If she's watching, well, she was instrumental.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch her name. Her name was
Preetham.
Preetham. Okay. Well, Preetham, if you're watching this, or somebody who knows Preetham was watching this, well, you got acknowledged. Yeah.
So I was talking to her, and that's when this name came up, and I quite liked it, because from chalk we end up going down to talk.
So now, are we going to expect a sequel? Because now we're online. So from chalk to talk to what? Tech? I don't know. So from talk to tech, I don't know. I'm just thinking like that.
I still haven't got over the shock of having written one book. So I need to get over that, and then maybe, yes, in between I have been writing articles which are getting published, That's been an ongoing process. Maybe I'll just cull out all these articles and
put together a collection.
yeah.
Okay, so as someone who's seen this industry for over many years, seen it changing and changing drastically also, what would be your advice to the aspiring teachers, or those who want to come in and teach and be part of the education, the administration, teaching? What would be your advice to them? I'm sure you've done a lot. I mean, you've been with the teachers training college and institutes also. But what would be, since we're online and people are watching, what would be your advice to them, those who want to teach?
Believe in yourself. Balance the head and the heart. If you have to err at all, err on the side of the child.
Wow. Okay, that's profound, but that is going to take a while to sink in. Yeah, it's not easy. I know. Yeah, so it's not easy, right? If and I'd love to ask this question. So, if you were made like the education minister for a day, okay, what's the first thing that you would do?
I would look at all this online teaching circus that has been going on. I would involve a few more academicians, a few more parents, and try and take a balanced point of view.
You feel something's amiss in terms of the balance is not proper right now?
If it is not online, under the lockdown, if it is not online, what else should it be?
Mm-hmm. So what would you do? You would call in experts and do what?
Experts and find out what is it that they want, instead of having this my side and your side. Instead of that, let us take one common consensus and see what is the best thing for our child. For our child, not your child. For our child.
Right. Okay. Great. Okay. So coming to the end of the program, and Dr. Pramila, I'd like to ask you one last question. Okay. If you were to go back and if you were given an option of doing a different stream, okay, different stream. I'm not asking you about, you'd say I'll do teaching all over again. And that's generally what people do because they're very happy with what they're doing. So other than teaching and medicine, okay, because you always wanted to be a doctor. I already ruled that out. I ruled that out. So other than teaching and medicine, what is it that you would have actually gone and, wanted to have done?
Singing.
Your choice.
Singing.
Singing. Okay. Any particular type or style?
I just enjoy music.
Mm-hmm.
I did learn classical music. I enjoy that because with the classical music background, you can sing anything.
Wow. Okay.
But
I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh, Breathless, Shankar Mahadevan.
Yeah.
He says it openly. Mm-hmm. And he also takes that one step forward and says, Carnatic music is what you need to learn.
Okay, we mentioned about Preetham.
Yes.
She's online and she is watching.
Thank
okay,
you.
Preetham. Yes, thank you very much for watching. Right? Yeah. Okay. So yes, Dr. Kudva, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for consenting to be on the show and sharing your story and your insights. And for all of those who are watching, please do share your thoughts and comments here on Facebook and on Twitter. And please do share the video if you feel it will probably help somebody else also. Like I said, I keep trying to bring you people and with stories which are wonderful and fascinating to share. If you do know of any such people, please reach out to me and let me know. And share and like the page so that you'll be aware of which is the next program that we're doing. Thank you very much once again, everyone. Please stay safe. And Dr. Kudva, thank you very much for once again being on the show.
Thank you. My pleasure entirely.
Thank you. Stay online. I will just end the broadcast. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor.